Night Terrors Action Comics issue 1. Leah Williams on the first story with Vasco Georgiev, and the second story is Philip K. Johnson. And the artist wasn't listed on Leah Comic Geek, so I'll tell you when I get to the credits page.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so this was obviously 2 full-size stories making up this Action Comics book. And the first one, I was just kind of on. I didn't really feel much for it. This is the Power Girl story.
I like Leah Williams going through Power Girls, her psychology still, and I just don't know what to make of the story because it's a little bit too ethereal, right? Where I credited the last one, Dan Waters Detective, for having that sense of etherealness. This one just kept jumping around so much, like a dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah, like a lot of the tie-ins have been doing. And this one has something slightly. It's got like a framing device where it's like she's in like a
Matrix kind of.
She's in like a pod, and every time the dream changes, we get, or not every time, but a few of the times in the issue, we get like a panel or a page where she's in this pod asleep and the computer's saying reset, and you see some green lasers or whatever. So it feels like in the real world she's in some sort of thing that's maybe influencing her dreams for whatever reason.
And so she keeps going back to Omen, and then you think that Omen's on her side, but then in one dream Omen is responsible for whatever experiments going on, but yeah, it did the what the other ones are doing of jumping around a lot, and not in a good way. But I will say Georgiev's art I'm a big fan of, the clean lines, and how it plays some of the panel breakdowns for the Nightmare stuff put me on a little bit on edge.
The art is pretty good. The coloring I liked as well. It definitely stuck out to me because I dropped the Power Girl backups and whatever because I didn't like the art back when they were a thing. So that was an interesting look. But honestly, the fact that I didn't keep up with those though probably meant I wasn't as attached to this Power Girl, so that also didn't help my enjoyment of this. Yeah,
so like I like Leah Williams' voice for Power Girl, and as she's going through this and dealing with her own doubts, and like it feels like she still can't trust people, right? And that's where the dreams are coming from. Even her best friend Omen, because that's where it ends.
That said, though, we do get Streaky the cat blasting heat vision through Omen's stomach and making a big hole. I did enjoy that page, just for,
of course,
just for the sheer visceral violence of it.
And you love Streaky.
Yes, so I do enjoy some cat antics.
Yes.
But yeah, the final page, this is one of these ones where the cliffhanger just annoyed me, because it's like, Omen's actually like part of the evil program that's controlling the dreams, and the final page is Omen using almost like Matrix code from her fingers, like puppet strings on Power Girl, and it says program restart, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine. I didn't really enjoy a lot of the scenes though, even though I think they were well enough like written and whatever, but they just suffer the same problem a lot of these nightmares. So
Night Terrors. It's a Night Terrors problem.
It's not the worst of the tie-ins, but it's far from the best one. It's kind of right in the middle of them.
I'm not dreading reading part 2. Like, I'm not dreading to see where this one goes like I am with some of the other ones. Yeah.
What's funny is that I might read part 2 of that purely because I actually like the second half of this.
Like Johnson's on a different level here.
Don't get me wrong, it does go a little too Night Terrors towards the end, but a lot of this story is the super family, not including a lot of the main ones actually. So it's the 2 kids, it's Othel and Ozil, and it's Connor, Keenan, New Superman, and Natasha Irons, and they're watching a horror movie. It's not a real horror movie. I was trying to figure it out, but it was very clear after a bit that
when they were saying
real.
Danny, I'm like, are they watching The Shining?
That's what I thought, and then you see like someone with a chainsaw on the screen, and I'm like, okay, all right. It's just they're just mixing things. They're not.
And Natasha being like, should the kids be watching this? And Connor doing which I've said before when my nieces are around, I was like, they'll learn soon enough. This is an American classic. Even look at Keenan. Keenan's learning, and he goes, yeah, Keenan, show him what you learned. And all he says is chainsaw, final girl. it just these horror movie terms I thought was funny.
And also, Don't Split Up, I think was the other one.
Yeah, Don't Split Up.
Just before we move on, the artist on this story was Miko Soyen and Fiko Ozio. So, I'm not super familiar with those names. I did quite like the art though. Like, honestly, I could have just went an issue with them watching a scary movie together and just commenting on it. Like,
100%.
That was for me. That was the fun. That said, though, I did also enjoy the kids getting scared afterwards.
Because these kids were raised on War World, right? And they have a whole different version of horror. And it's not necessarily the chainsaw guy that scares them, right? It's the idea of Cyborg Superman being able to, that chainsaw kind of representing and reminding them of Cyborg Superman. And how that he attacked them even from the Phantom Zone, and they'll never feel safe. And so I do like that vibe that goes through Osel and Ortho as this plays out.
Yeah, the boy wakes up dreaming of the Cyborg Superman, and gets up and starts wandering around. And Kalex, who's there, is looking a bit suspicious. Like, you see Kalex watching one of them, Connor specifically, and starts quoting the movie that we're watching. And then we get some proper... It was very Close Encounters, actually, of like, the boy walking down the hall and there's the red light. And it reminded me a lot of that scene in Close Encounters where the lights of the ship are outside. But I thought the art here was great with him like creaking the door open and looking in. As far as just being like a horror issue goes, like I thought this had a lot of fun stuff. You set up the tone and have some fun with them watching the horror movie, and then you actually have some good creepy art of like one of the kids walking about when everyone else is asleep being scared. And then you've got the big thing that happens is Connor Kent's been turned into some weird cyborg Superman villain.
Cyborg Superboy is what I'm
Cyborg Super. That's a good name actually. That's quite good. And he starts, talking all evil and jumping around. But then he disappears, and everyone else wakes up. And they're like, what's going on? He's like, oh, there was Connor, and he was like Cyborg Superman. And then they don't really believe him, but then they notice outside that the world has turned into a nightmare world where there's fire everywhere, there's bloody Superman symbols all over the place. And they're like, wait, this can't be real. And then the TV starts acting up, and Cyborg Superman comes out of the TV looking all like funky. Like he's especially cyborg now. He's got like one bit of a human face, and then the rest of it's just Terminator with a Superman logo.
Yeah, it's like Freddy Krueger meets Terminator, right?
Yeah. So basically they're saying that because we're in like this shared nightmare now, which by the way, like I will critique slightly here that we're playing quite fast and loose, but it was this in Titans, which we're going to talk about in a bit, where why is it some people who are in teams are dreaming together, and yet all the single character books are all just them on their... Like, it's very wishy-washy.
Had the same... When I got to this point, after I had read Titans, I thought the same exact thing.
So I just,
I get it in as a hurdle to jump as you're writing, but also we need some internal logic here.
Yeah. It just feels that we can make it up wherever we want as it goes. Right. And so, the last couple pages are my least favorite because it's just like a huge, Cyborg Superman fighting people. And, I mean, you've got evil Crypto at the end as well, as the cliffhanger. But, so, last couple pages I wasn't in love with, which does make me a little worried if issue 2 is just more of that. But the majority of this Philip K. Johnson story is just a stand. Like, I almost didn't like it when they looked outside and the world had changed. I was like, you know what? Just have this be in the real world and have a fun horror story. Like, I don't need the nightmare stuff.
Yep.
But
I'm with you there.
So, but regardless, I would say 90% of this story I actually really liked. It just dips a bit at the end with just the typical action bollocks that doesn't mean much.
Yeah. When we're sitting around watching horror movies, it's like a super family. And again, we haven't gotten that really until Philip Kennedy Johnson.
And it's probably, with all due respect to them, it's kind of the C-list members of the family, which made it a bit more fun.
Yeah. So, it's not Supergirl and Superman and
John. Which
John, Lois.
Not that I would complain if any of them were there, but...
but... I do like when it's just these ones, and they can tell the story. But I was like, damn, he's working on a whole different level because this also works with that whole super family side quest with the Camelot stuff,
Also, the idea as well that Connor and Keenan are kind of becoming friends and just having some moments with them, like joking around, is nice.
Yeah, Connor, the fact too that him and Natasha seem to be really friendly too, because in those backups that I really wasn't enjoying from Steel, they were kind of the highlight of those two working together. So the fact that Connor's getting some friends that are outside the Young Justice kids, I appreciate.
Yeah.
So it's, man, he's operating on a different level until you get to the Night Terror-y stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
it's like,
he's kind of constrained.
Like, I don't hate the idea of like all the like mechanical devices like turning into like Transformers and coming after them, but
the
it's also
cracked me up.
But it's also quite silly, and like I was kind of enjoying how not silly it was up until that point. So the Night Terror's part of it that sort of creeps in those last few pages is a bit of a shame, but I did like the rest of it. I will mark it down a little bit for that. It is two artists. I did think both art styles worked together, though. I don't think there was like a jarring shift to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Fico Osio worked on Hawkman too, because that name seems familiar. So, and then Miko, what was it, Suyin?
I'm not looking at it, but that sounds right.
Yeah, those are both names that I've heard before, and I'm pretty sure I enjoy. So them working together, it seems like, and melding the styles where we didn't notice too much. I'll be honest, I didn't realize it was two artists until you said something.
I don't think I did either until I looked at the names.
Yeah. So, but so props on that. But yeah, this one was the highlight of the Action Comics. I'm enjoying the Leah Williams Power Girl stuff. That seemed kind of like a throwaway story, whereas I feel like here, Philip Kennedy Johnson was like, sure, it might be a throwaway story because of the Night Terrors, but I'm going to do something with the family.
He's chosen this to give us some nice little moments between some characters who don't get as much time month to month, which is nice. But let's make it clear, just something you said there, is that my critiques of that Power Girl story is really not saying anything about the ongoing Power Girl stuff.
No.
Just like the Green Lantern Night Terrors issue being garbage is not a comment on that run. It's just, they're just being Night Terrors tie-ins, and unfortunately that just...
And that stinks, because I got excited when I saw it was a Leah Williams. Like, I was wondering what Philip Kennedy Johnson was going to do here. Because, Tom Taylor really hasn't touched Night Terrors through Nightwing and his other books. So
no Taylor, no King, no Ram V on any of these.
Right. And so to see that Johnson took that, because I'm sure maybe in my head, I feel like they were given the option, and I feel like Johnson's like, I could tell like a horror story in a backup style tale. So, but no, the fact that I enjoyed the Leah Williams stuff before this, it's kind of a bummer that the story didn't add up to much, especially because of how it was playing with the dream world beforehand versus what Johnson does here by using the established family dynamics to tell a story of the family. But again, I said it different level. Happy that the story exists.
All right, what are you rating Night Terrors Action Comics?
I'll give this an 8, and that's mainly for the Super Family story.
See, if I was doing just a Super Family story on its own, I'd probably go 7.5 because those last few pages drag it down. But because I have to like pair it with the other one, it's so I'm saying that so people know how I felt about that second story. But if I have to rate it overall, then I probably have to go with like a 6, because I do think that first one drags it down significantly. So, take that for what you will.